Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Today, we first are going to cover some breaking news, obviously, but we're going to get into the draft. We're going to look at draft quarterbacks. We have new data that are very, very interesting sets of data about the quarterback class, and we're going to talk about matching some of these players with the teams as the draft is upon us in very few days. But first, of course, the big storyline of the week, Rob Gronkowski traded from the Patriots to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, what are we expecting from this, and what was your initial reaction when you heard of this?
Well, when I first heard that he wants to go, I was like, yeah, that's just rumors. It's not going to happen. But then it happened almost like an hour later. And
yeah, it happened. It happened all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And wow, that, you know what? I just thought about, what does that mean for O.J. Howard? He's gone, right?
He might not be. You can use two tight ends.
Well, they have Cameron Braid also.
Yeah.
And Bruce Arians has been
receivers.
saying that he doesn't like O.J. Howard in a sense. I don't think he's come out and just said I don't like the guy, but he's, there's reports out there that he's not happy with O.J. Howard in the first place and would like to trade him.
He might be traded.
Yeah.
They might trade him, though. I think it's a risk connected to just trading his backup. Like, you don't know what Gronkowski is really gonna do. See, he retired from the NFL 2 years ago, and just to clarify the situation, the Patriots have traded the contract rights to Rob Gronkowski to the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers now have the eligibility to sign him to the roster.
Oh yeah.
He has reportedly passed the physical, and everything's pointing towards the fact that he's going to join the team. And I think the trade went out for like a 7th round pick or something. Nothing great, because he wasn't going to return to the Patriots either way. Puts up a bunch of revelations, in my opinion, because makes it kind of clear to me that he retired from the Patriots, not from football, even though he might have said differently at the time. And now,
yes.
The second that his former quarterback's with another team, and he has an opportunity to, and he's right now, by the way, he's under contract with the WWE, and he's the current 24/7 champion in the WWE. Also, is Rob Gronkowski. So that's gonna have to stop, because that's not how NFL franchises operate. Like, Patrick Mahomes can't even play baseball with his kids in his free time, like contractually, because he's an NFL quarterback. They don't allow you to do other stuff, so he's gonna have to retire from the WWE.
Yeah, for sure. That's a loss for the WWE, and maybe they can work out some kind of off-season deal with him. I don't know. And this all depends on what kind of deal they're going to work out. Do you know how long was left on his contract?
I'm not sure actually. Though, if I would imagine that if he plans to stay around longer than a single season with the Buccaneers, they'll likely rework and give him a new contract anyway.
Yeah,
would make sense. Though the question is, would he really do that? And does it even make sense for him to be there for longer than a year?
Yeah, that's what I would think, is just a single season. So, I imagine that the Bucs are going to want him to put the WWE thing on hold right away, now. That he's not going to be able to, hey, let's just work up until spring training or summer, or whatever.
So. When a contract is signed, you stop, for sure.
Yes, exactly.
I think so. So, do you buy into this whole Tampa Bay thing? Maybe in the big picture, look at it first. Obviously, have a very strong division, with Atlanta having underperformed last season, but arguably being stronger now, even with Todd Gurley, and aiming for that 10-win sort of range. And you still got New Orleans, brought the band back together for one more year with playoff contention. So is this NFC South going to go back to being one of the strongest divisions in football? And are the Buccaneers going to play a role in that?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe the odd man out. Unlike the last time we got 3 teams make the playoffs from the NFC South, I think this time the odd man out will probably be Carolina. With Teddy Bridgewater at the helm there. And I think Tampa Bay could sneak in there and take that spot from them.
All right. I'm hesitant about this because I like to look at the changes that have been made, and then I like to evaluate them, kind of objectively to what happened before. You have your tight end who was already injury prone, who was seemingly not fully invested in playing in the NFL anymore, being out of the league for 2 years, having lost significant amounts of weight and wrestling in the WWE, not playing football for a while. He's returning. O.J. Howard was arguably a top 5 tight end in the league. How big of an upgrade is this really? How big of an upgrade is this really, and is it at all? And look at the quarterback position, and also again big flashy names, but who is in a vacuum the better quarterback right now, Jameis or Tom Brady? To me, it's not that clear, right? If you stick Jameis with New England, if you just swap the two, I'd say New England still wins more games than Tampa Bay with Tom Brady.
Wow. That's tough, man. That's tough. Although I do think that Jameis would perform better with the Patriots. And how likely is that possibility, that Jameis could end up there after the draft?
I don't know. That would be a great storyline, of course. I would love to see that.
A lot of the analysts right now are leaning toward Andy Dalton being their starting quarterback at the beginning of the season.
Maybe I could see a fringe reason for why Bill Belichick want to do that, because if he can produce a winning season with Andy Dalton, he basically he disproved Tom Brady's entire career, right? He's like it's been me all, it's been fully me all along, basically. That I can see how that's a little bit of an extra motivation there, but I doubt it somehow. I think Jarrett Stidham is probably the guy until they pick up someone of name, in my opinion.
Yeah, not that I have any love for the Patriots at all, but I kind of want to see them do it with a rookie, or at least or Jarrett Stidham, just some young SEC quarterback, maybe a Jake from State Farm or something like that. But
you still want that to happen, right?
Yeah, I do want to see the kid. He's a hometown guy here, I do want to see him do well in the NFL.
Wouldn't you want the Falcons to draft him?
No, not at all. He's not better than Matt Ryan by any means.
He might be in 2 or 3 years though.
I guess it's possible. Well, Matt Ryan, even though he was a first-round quarterback, was not the player he was, or the player he is now, when he first started with the Falcons. He developed into that guy because they had him at Boston College playing triple option a lot, and things like that. And he was not the passing quarterback that he became in the, after 2010. But he's been a solid starter for a long time now, and that seems definitely to be sort of the opposite of Jake Fromm too. Yeah, I think Jake Fromm definitely could turn into that. There's a lot of comparisons between Jake Fromm and Matt Ryan, just as there are with Jake Fromm and Tom Brady.
Right, and rightfully so. I think they're very similar prospects, very similar style of player.
Exactly, and besides Tom Brady, Matt Ryan was a much higher draft pick than Tom Brady, or that Jake Fromm is probably
that Jake Fromm will be. Yeah, I don't think Jake Fromm will go in the first round. It'll be tough. He might go in the first round if someone trades up, but it's 50-50 to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking he goes in day 2, whether it's second or third round. I don't think he falls past day 2, but
no, he doesn't.
I think he definitely gets picked up in the second or third round.
We'll sort of see the pace dictated there by the run of quarterbacks in the first 10 picks. But to wrap this up, I don't believe the Tampa Bay hype as much as people do. I think those two upgrades in parentheses are big names. They're name upgrades, but I'm not sure if they're going to be upgrades that will translate to the football field. And honestly, I'm not trusting Gronkowski fully when it comes to off the field and general locker room personality outside of Bill Belichick, because it was very clear that that's not the way he wanted to play, right? That's what he wanted to get away from. He didn't retire from football. He retired from the Patriots, who until now had the contract rights to him. because he simply didn't like the high discipline, strict environment that Belichick created, the Patriot way, right? That's not what he wanted to be.
Oh,
and
exactly.
he's always been that kind of person to his defense, of course. But that's, for example, why Antonio Brown lasted a glorious 4 or 5 days with New England, which was completely obvious to everyone who understood. That's why OBJ would have no chance to ever go there.
Yes.
And I feel like he's not gonna be the same kind of player, because no one's gonna push him, no one's gonna hold him accountable to the same degree in Tampa Bay. And you could argue even that Tom Brady was looking for a bit of an easier going situation. They're getting away from the Patriot way in New England.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'd like to add to that list is probably why Jameis would never work out in New England. Although it is an interesting thought.
It is, but he's more... I don't think so. I doubt it, though. I would definitely like to see it and see what happens, because he's the kind of person who could at least add some more dynamic power to that offense again. That's been completely stagnant last year, and just like they couldn't produce at all. And having a guy who just throws it, like just takes some shots, can add some fuel to that offense, get some more energy back in there. But I doubt we'll see it, though it would definitely be an interesting thought. But yeah, Rob Gronkowski seemingly on the verge of signing and joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster, joining his former quarterback teammate Tom Brady. And again, you look at the stat line, you look at the nameplates, Mike Evans, Gronk, Chris Godwin, Tom Brady, and OJ Howard on the same team. And Bruce Arians, good coach. I don't believe it. I don't think, until I've seen a few games and seen that this actually makes sense and works and they're actually there, I don't think this is a serious playoff contender or a serious contender for a deep playoff push. With the extension of the playoff brackets now, they have a better chance to make it. We don't know exactly what Atlanta will be, but we know New Orleans will be on the top of the NFC once again. They'll be very good. I'm not sure if there's a spot for Tampa Bay to really contest for this division, but we'll have to end up seeing. I think both those players are frankly overrated. As good as they are, and as good as they were at their best, Brady and Gronkowski, exactly. Right now they're both extremely overrated. I think that's true. I don't think Brady's a top 10 quarterback. I don't think Gronk is going to be a top 5 tight end in the league. And I'm not sure how big the upgrades actually are for Tampa Bay, so we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not buying the hype as much as a lot of people would like to. So let's look at another thing, and this is something that I bring up every year, and I always make a lot of enemies when I bring it up. It's the wonderlic scores, and of course you've heard of them. It's a test they do.
Yes.
In part of preparation of the NFL Combine. It's an intelligence test. It's a cognitive ability test that they put players through, and famously there have been players who've scored really low and done really well in the NFL. Frank Gore is an example. I think he scored like a single digit.
Wasn't it a
wonderlic
6?
He scored terribly. Yeah. He scored badly. But
the lowest of all time.
The range goes from 0 to 50. Obviously, 50 being the best has been achieved once so far in the entire history, and that actually hurt the player's draft stock. But that's a different story. Ryan Fitzpatrick, famously a 48, smart kid, obviously.
Yes, Ivy League. Yeah.
Yeah, and I care about this for quarterbacks more than other positions, obviously, because really the change or the switch from college to the NFL, especially for quarterbacks, is mental, right? It's not a big change in the physical aspect of things. Like, college players are grown adults. They don't get much bigger and much faster physically from college to the NFL. But they start to understand what they're doing better. They start really knowing their angles. And that's why I really like my quarterback to be a smarter player, to really understand what we're doing. And here's the reason why I'm bringing all this up. I have the Wonderlic scores from all the quarterbacks of the 2020 draft class right here. And do you want to guess some notable numbers?
Let me think. Which player are we going to talk about first? And I will guess the number.
Let's talk about Joe Burrow first.
Joe Burrow. I will guess a I'm gonna guess a 31.
So that's very close. He's got a 34.
Oh, wow.
Which is, by the way, that's great. That is,
it is
all the boxes ticked. That's a really good score. That's the territory. You got a lot of the people like Eli and Peyton Manning that are sort of in that region that have scored in that sort of area. A lot of the long-time successful, more than a decade successful solid quarterbacks have scored consistently around or over the 30-point mark, with 25, of course, being average in the test scale. Let's talk about Tua, though. And Tua sort of is the elephant in the room to me. And I saw the result for the first time. And the first time they took the test, he'd scored a 13. And
wow,
bells went off in my head. And alarms started ringing. This is lower than Lamar Jackson. This is one of the lowest quarterback wonderlicks I've seen in a while. They've adjusted it to 19. Now, a lot of these values are post-adjusted, and he scored a 13 at the beginning, now adjusted it, so the official score is a 19, being the correct value. And that's the lowest of the class.
Wow.
At a 19.
I would have never guessed that. I mean, I don't want to, sound ignorant or put a number on guys before I mean, right. I'm not going to say, I thought this guy would score the lowest. But that number seems really low just from interviews and just the psychology of this guy. This, how well he can read defenses. And, I mean, that doesn't seem right to me.
And here's the deal, right? This is tough to me because I've always valued this stat for quarterbacks a lot. When we looked at the 2 years ago, the draft class, you had Josh Allen, Sam Darnold outperform everybody. You had Baker and Lamar Jackson on the sort of the lower end of things, and I pointed that out. I value that because I really think that's it. As much as people like to say it's not, and Richard Sherman, for example, one of the guys came out and said a lot of NFL players do, and this happens every year. No one cares about the wonderlic. No one takes it seriously. It's treated as a joke by everyone. I don't treat it as a joke, and I don't think it's a good idea to not take this test seriously, because at least if I'm a GM and I see a quarterback score a 90, say I'm the Bengals GM or any high picking team, and I'm undecided. I see a 19 out of Tua, I see a 34 out of Joe Burrow, and I'm on the verge. I'm 50-50. That's influencing my decision, and I don't think it's a good decision from someone like Tua to not take this test seriously if that's what he did. Presumably, I think he should have. And by the way, Jalen Hurts is not doing much better. He's sitting at 21, so just 2 points above him.
Really?
I think that, to me, this Hurts draft sucked because the empirical data, it exists as much as people want to deny it. I'm not saying this is the only factor, but lower Wonderlic scores correlate. Obviously, this is clearly also not just correlate, but are caused by a lower level in cognitive ability. And lower Wonderlic scores tend to correlate with a worse quarterback performance over a given period of time in the NFL. Because it's really such a mental position, and it takes such an amount of understanding. Because the college playbook compared to the NFL playbook, that's the big change. That really was what makes a difference. Because in the NFL, you can't run a spread offense 80% of the time. You can't. You have to have crossing passing patterns. You have to have different reads, RPOs. You have timing routes. You have to match your footwork to certain route combinations, and those are the things that the really good quarterbacks typically excel at, because that's something you'll do for 20 years. You're not going to have the same speed for 20 years. You're not going to have the same just like running ability or whatever for 20. But understanding the playbook is what makes a player like Drew Brees, like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, 20-year starter.
Yes, and that makes up for lack of physical ability.
It does. And in the long term, it tends to win out over that. And by the way, I'm still going to say this on record right now. Lamar Jackson, when all said and done, he will not have the best career out of his draft class in quarterbacks. He won't. I'm very confident in saying. I am extremely confident in saying that. Actually, he's the best right now, performing. Obviously, last year he did best. he might be doing best in 2-3 years.
Yes.
But in 12 years, there'll be Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, maybe Josh Allen. They'll be playing the same or better as they are now, probably better. Lamar Jackson is getting better from here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the style of play also, has a lot to do with the longevity because, running quarterbacks, unless you're built like a Cam Newton, but even in Cam Newton's case, his body did not hold up over many years.
Exactly.
I'd be really surprised to even see a Cam Newton or a Josh Allen play a 20-year career like Tom Brady or Peyton,
Yeah, it just doesn't happen because oftentimes this combination between exceptional physical talent and exceptional intelligence in a quarterback, that's a rare combination. Mm-hmm. And when you hit it, you get people like Russell Wilson. That doesn't happen a lot.
Exactly.
And we know Tua is a great athlete. He's a great quarterback. Maybe he's probably the best thrower in this class. Mm-hmm. And I believe he's had the best college career overall of all these guys. Mm-hmm. I've said it several times, if he doesn't get hurt, last college season, he wins the Heisman, he wins the national championship, he goes first overall. That was quite clear to me the entire time. Basically, since the first game he started in. I know you remember this very well. And you don't fondly remember the first game that he came in, but I do fondly remember it.
Oh,
it was that national champ. Yes, you remember that.
I remember it, just not fondly. Yeah. Yes.
And he was basically touted as the first overall pick 2 years down the line, like the night after that game happened, where, by the way, he completely bailed out Jalen Hurts, who we're not going to talk about. But I don't like to see this number. Yeah, what are you saying?
Well, I was saying I heard it all season leading up to that game. Like when is Saban gonna actually play Tua? The Alabama fans were waiting for Tua, even though Jalen was winning games. Yes, Jalen was winning games, but they were still waiting for Saban to put Tua in because they knew they had something special behind there.
And they did at the exact right moment too.
Yeah, and it worked. Damn sure worked.
Yeah, it did. But the 19, listen, it's not as bad as others I've seen, and this being the lowest in the class obviously makes it look worse. But it's not a number that I'm happy with. Now, if I'm sitting there at 5 or 6 or say 10, say Joe Burrow's pick, Justin Herbert's gone, the decision is made easy on me, that's not something that I will take someone off my draft board for. Never. Mm-hmm. But this is something that definitely sparks some conversation in that team. And if I'm a team considering picking Tua high right now, I want to talk to this guy. I want more interviews, and I want to specifically talk football. And I want to ask this guy about what happened. And I want to let him take some more tests. Because this is something I care about. You're investing in your future of the franchise more than with anything else. Is what you do when you pick a quarterback.
I just thought about
it. And I know I'm going to get bad comments for this because I do every year.
Oh, yeah.
How can you evaluate this? There's always terrible. There's always some terrible people who don't understand what I'm saying in the comments. They'll say stuff reaching from ignorance to even bringing race into the question.
Yes.
It's about none of that. I like a quarterback to understand what we're doing. And something that I did like about this class is Justin Herbert actually scoring a 39, which is a very impressive score, being the second highest. That's something I definitely do like to see. And also Jake Fromm, 35, as you might like to hear.
Oh, yeah. I knew that kid was pretty smart from the beginning, but if only...
He was pretty smart when he picked his college, right?
Yeah, exactly. But if only... Yeah, because he knew he was gonna beat out Eason and Fields. Yeah. Nobody could have known that. But here's an interesting dynamic I just thought of when you were saying that. So what if the Dolphins do go through and draft Tua? They can have the highest score of all time, tutoring the lowest score of all time, and then you can. I
don't think Tua's the lowest of all time, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is definitely.
No, for a quarterback.
For a quarterback, right? Is he?
Yes.
Is he the lowest? I know Fitzpatrick is the highest for a quarterback. Is Tua the lowest for a quarterback?
Well, I know that Lamar was the lowest before this, and you just said he scored lower than Lamar.
I think he did, at least initially. I'm not sure if the 19 is still lower than Lamar. I can check that. The 13, I believe, was.
Yeah, the 13, I'm sure. because that's an extremely
that definitely
low score.
was. So actually, also interesting note here. Justin Herbert, initially they had him at a 25, and when they corrected the scores, I don't know what even happened, what went so wrong, but they corrected like half of the scores, and then they upped him by 14 points, which was weird. But
sorry, you're
19.
gonna have to say that again. I lost you for like a good.
I just mentioned how Justin Herbert had initially clocked in at a 25, and I corrected it to a 39, which puts him at one of the highest. And I don't quite understand. I don't quite understand how that happened.
How did these corrections come about? Do you know?
I have no idea. I can try to find that out, but usually you would make it's updated scores. It says updated scores, so I guess they reevaluate the tests or something. I'm not sure, because usually it's a very linear test. So I checked. Lamar Jackson also scored a 13, which means that Tua now is not the lowest with the updated score. He's now higher than Lamar Jackson. 19 still concerning to me. I like a quarterback. Listen, I don't need Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't need a 45 plus, right? I don't. But 25 and up, I would like that. I would definitely like that, to not raise any concerns or whatsoever. And I know people look at this differently. They don't connect the dots sometimes. But cognitive ability matters for understanding the complexity of an NFL playbook. That's a fact. Doesn't mean, by the way, that Tua won't be an elite starter. He will be. I think he's gonna be an all-time great player if he stays healthy, because he's the most talented player in this draft. But sure. It's a number I don't love to see. It's a number I don't love to see. And I think this also, if I'm the Bengals, this settles it. If there was any doubt, Joe Burrow is the pick. Because there's every box is ticked. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Like, you probably knew it before, but he fills absolutely everything, and he should be a number one overall pick. Which leads us to, unless you have anything else to remark about the wonderlics for the quarterback class, let's talk some more draft.
No. Okay.
Let's do it. So I want to play this little game because we talked about quarterbacks, and we want to actually match them to some destinations. So we're going to take a look at the top 10 teams currently picking, no trades. Assuming no trades, but we can work them into our theories. And we're going to go through and kind of match the teams that we think could pick quarterback to the prospect that we're thinking, and how would it fit. So I guess we'll start off with Cincinnati. It's quite obvious they're picking quarterback, unless they're trading down. But I would say 99% chance that Roger Goodell from his basement will be announcing Joe Burrow to the Cincinnati Bengals with the first overall pick. That seems a done pick to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
How about the Redskins? How about Washington at 2?
I go a different direction. I think that there's no way they could pass up Chase Young here, but I know you tend to believe that they could believe that Dwayne Haskins is not the man that they're going to go with for the future. And if that's the case, what do you think? They're picking Tua there?
If Tua scored 30 plus on the one,
so I guess that pushes Justin Herbert up to second in line, huh?
I don't think they pick Herbert. That's the thing, right?
Really?
You don't pick Herbert there. If you love Tua, you pick Tua. If you don't, you pick Chase Young. That's simple. Because quite simply, Tua's a better quarterback than Justin Herbert.
Well, now the Wonderlic has made us agree on that then.
On what?
That Chase Young is going second to the Redskins.
I think he is. Unless they really want Tua and they know something anyone else doesn't, and they've really done their work, or they're just sloppy. I don't know. I think it's Chase Young. I think it would be. So. Unless, of course, Joe Burrow was available, but no. It's got to be Chase Young, in my opinion. The chance for a trade down, in my opinion, isn't completely out of the question still, though. I said this last week. I think both the Lions, you're followed by 4 teams who could all be thinking quarterback, or at least the Lions could be thinking Chase Young. But after that, you're followed by 3 teams who definitely are thinking quarterback, or the Giants might be. I've heard about the Giants doing a lot of research and meetings with Justin Herbert. So are they maybe thinking get another guy in the room? Which
that's crazy.
I don't like
to
this
me.
idea at all.
I don't either.
I don't like the idea. No.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at, a serviceable backup, which is an extremely high pick to get a backup, or,
right.
if you're just thinking, well, I don't need a Mekhi Becton. I don't need a tackle right now. I don't need a Tristan Wirfs. We need a backup quarterback. But I don't see them coming off Daniel Jones because that kid looks promising to me, and I think he's going to be their quarterback for quite some time to come. So I really think you would be wasting a pick to pick a backup quarterback at the 4 spot.
Yeah, I think also, so. That'll be Arizona.
Yeah, and also the Lions, I guess it's possible, but unless they, I don't know. Stafford has a lot of years left in him.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's got 5 at least.
I mean, they need a cornerback. Darius Slay is gone now. I think they need Jeff Okudah at that spot because that's the highest ranked cornerback in this class. I mean, it's either him or it's CJ Henderson, and I really think Jeff Okudah goes there. So I don't see quarterback going at 3 or 4 myself.
So I think the Lions are by far the least likely team to look at a quarterback out of the top 5 or top 6 even. I don't think, because you mentioned this about the Lions, they need cornerback, and you mentioned about the Giants, they need tackle. Both those teams need everything but quarterback. Is sort of the situation there. So you can't really afford to do this. It's sort of what Arizona did last year. You pick Josh Rosen, you surround him with absolutely nothing. Guess what happens? He doesn't play well in his rookie season, and you use your first overall pick. Get the next quarterback. And by the way, a bad quarterback class. I can't stress this enough. Compare last year's quarterback class to the previous one and this year's. Kyler Murray's might not be a top 5 quarterback in the 2018 class, and he's probably not a top 3 quarterback in the 2020 class. And all the other guys also. So it's a lot of value you're pushing down the drain. And for a team like the Giants with so many needs, picking up 2 quarterbacks back to back with their first pick, just to give themselves twice the chance of like hitting on the miracle guy. I don't think it's a sound strategy approach it, because you can get to choose on who gets to get burned each week by a non-existent offensive line or receivers. I think you build around Daniel Jones because he's shown you enough. He's shown you he can be at least Eli Manning, and historically you've seen that that's all you really need him to be for you to have success.
Yes. Exactly, I agree with that fully. So that leads us to number 5, which I don't.
Miami Dolphins.
This is where I see Tua going. This is exactly where I see Tua going, and even with the wonderlic, I still see him going there because I don't know that it. Yes, I don't know that it means as much to the Dolphins management as it does to you, and definitely the players think it's a joke. So it's all up also, to.
It's also, to me, it's not that. I know I always make it sound very important, and it is important, but it's only very important to me in relative term. If you're sitting at 5, and for basically half a year we've now been saying Tua's the guy, we've done our work on the guy, he's the guy we're picking. A wondering score of 19 is nothing that should ever deviate you from that point. You're not saying I'm not picking him because of this, right? If he scored like a 5 or something, and you bring him in for an interview, but that doesn't happen. This should not be something that stops you from making the pick you were going to make, because it's not even that egregious of a score. 20 is all right. It's not great, but it's okay. And you have some things to hash out. But if he's your guy, and it's not something that should affect you from picking him. Now, most mock drafts have Tua go to Miami. I think a lot of people like him there. They have it numbered through because Washington, Detroit, New York, they aren't picking quarterbacks, and the second guy goes to Miami. I think a lot of trades are possible, but because we're evaluating every team, I think Miami is definitely picking a quarterback. It doesn't even matter who it is. Could be Tua, could be Justin Herbert, if Tua were not to be available, or if they someone happen to like Justin Herbert better, that's also fine.
Yeah.
And leaves us at 6 with the Chargers, also a team that has been touted to pick a quarterback for a long time, and they've seemingly been favored to go with Herbert from Oregon.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the possibility because I put Joe Burrow and Tua in the top tier, and then there is a step down, I believe, when you get to Justin Herbert. I think he belongs in that second tier. So, therefore, he's probably the best of that tier, and I don't see why the Chargers would not take a quarterback here because currently they have Tyrod Taylor. And we've seen how that works out for the past 6-7 years with Tyrod Taylor. So why
it's
not
Justin nothing
Herbert?
Great, right? You're in a position that you're hoping not to be again for a long time, which is 6 overall. Probably take a quarterback here. I agree. He's definitely the best of that tier. And to me, Justin Herbert just screams Josh Allen in every respect.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly who he is because it's also in the 2018 draft class. You had Josh Allen, and he was sort of the same thing. He was like the best of the second tier going into the scouting. And you had Sam Darnold, you had Josh Rosen at the top. That was sort of your first tier. And then you had that second tier. And then of course, the Browns came and picked Baker Mayfield first overall. But like going into it, the scouting, that's sort of how it looked like. And Justin Herbert is very much that kind of guy to me. I think he can be one of the best. He has the obviously the mental capacity, as the wonderlic indicates. He definitely has the physical talent. Optimally, if you can afford to, you should be in a situation where you are able to have him sit out for half a season, or if he doesn't perform up to your expectations right away, because he's a raw prospect than the first two guys.
Well, we've seen how that works out, though, with teams trying to use Tyrod Taylor while developing their young quarterback. And that quarterback usually makes his way in before the midseason, But,
which is okay.
Yeah. I mean,
if he's better than Tyrod Taylor, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I think he will be. He's another one of these guys that has the size of a Cam Newton and a Josh Allen and a Carson Wentz. Those giant guys who can move a little bit. Now, I don't know that much about Herbert's ability to get outside of the pocket, but he's definitely built like those guys.
He is. It's nothing special. He's not as mobile of a quarterback as a Cam Newton is. He's not as much of a runner. He's just a relatively high risk, high reward sort of player and more of a project. He is kind of like, of course, his biggest upside, recent comparison, you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who also came in as this guy. He's got all the talent in the world. And this is Herbert, by the way. This is also Herbert I'm describing. Can make every throw on the football field. And has a tendency to not be the most accurate or have bad games, have bad moments. See, every throw that Justin Herbert makes, you have a chance of it being either Aaron Rodgers or Mitch Trubisky. And it is, though. That's sort of like what it is. He can miss someone he can make terrible reads, throw into a lurking safety. He can miss someone by 10 yards, or he can throw the perfect corner route 45 yards deep.
Well, that sounds a lot like Cam Newton and Josh Allen to me. And even a little bit of Carson Wentz, although I think Carson Wentz is more accurate than those two guys.
Yeah, Carson Wentz has kind of managed to achieve that consistency. So he's a top 5 quarterback in the league to me.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
If he could turn out to be that would be great.
Oh, yeah. So, Panthers.
How about Carolina? Panthers. What do you think? You had them picking Jalen Hurts in one of your fun mock drafts a while back.
Yes, I did. Yeah, and I really don't see it now. I mean, not in the first round. I still think that's a possibility for which Jalen might be a third round guy, And there's still a possibility as long as I haven't looked through past really round 1 to see how many picks they have back there in the second and third rounds. But if they're there and he is, why not? I mean, but as far as number 7, I don't see them going with a quarterback anymore. I mean, how many years did they sign Bridgewater for? Do you know right offhand?
I don't know, 3? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that. So
yeah, and there's PJ Walker.
Yeah, exactly. And they've already brought in PJ Walker to be the backup. So yeah, I don't see it happening. I think they go with a linebacker to replace Luke Kuechly or defensive tackle or something like a Derek Brown from Auburn.
I absolutely agree. I think the pick needs to be linebacker for them because you got to replace your best player.
Yes.
You've seemingly more than taken care of quarterback in the offseason so far in free agency. And you brought in two guys with a bunch of potential. One more of a hot shot than the other, but the other one, you know what you get in solid starter in Bridgewater. So I don't think you can't consider trying to spend this pick on a quarterback, even if for some reason like Justin Herbert is available here. If a great quarterback is available at a position where he shouldn't, you're looking for trades, but you're not looking to pick him yourself. I don't think it's an option. You can't afford to do it. You pick defense and start building up your team because you're going to be facing a tough division. So I agree with that. How about Arizona?
Arizona, oh man, I think you're probably gonna say that they need to pick a quarterback here. You're definitely not a Kyler Murray fan, but I think they're still giving it a few years. I mean, a lot of people are projecting Kyler Murray to do well this season, and I'm pretty sure the Cardinals are expecting him to do well this season. And I don't see you waste your 8th pick on a backup quarterback or anything. Although Jalen Hurts would not be a bad backup for Kyler Murray down there, but definitely not going in the first round like I just said. So I think you need to spend this on a defensive tackle or a linebacker or something.
See, this is the year that an intelligent Arizona Cardinals front office would call it quits on the Josh Rosen operation and pick their next quarterback.
Yeah.
This is the year they would have done it, and not last year. Of course, I don't have to pick quarterback because listen, Kyler Murray's okay. He's fine. He can be a starter in the NFL. He can do okay. He's not going to win the division anytime soon, and in the grand scheme of looking at the other classes, the types of quarterbacks that went the year before him and now the year after him, he doesn't measure up to the standard of number 1 overall picks when it comes down to it, I think. But he's okay. He's a quarterback. He's like, you got the Teddy Bridgewater, the PJ Walker, similar situation in Arizona. You got your guy, and you have to start giving him a team. Because if you don't, you get the same problems every year. You can keep picking quarterback every year, never give him a team. No, guess what? No quarterback is going to succeed unless you draft somehow Aaron Rodgers, and he's Aaron Rodgers from year 1. It's not happening. So, no. You brought in DeAndre Hopkins, which was a phenomenal trade, by the way. He's a very important piece, and you got him for very cheap. You can't consider quarterback. You pick defense here. You pick maybe offensive line. Because your offensive line is getting a little bit up there in age now, and you have a lot of tough pass rush to deal with in your division. So you want to make sure you can protect your quarterback. Anywhere really, you have a lot of positions to go with, but a quarterback to me, not really an option for Arizona. And if someone like Tua, again, same situation. If someone great's available, look to trade down, but you're not considered a quarterback. You got your guy in place, and I would think that you pick defensive or offensive line because it's a physical division. And if you want to contend for the NFC West playoff push soon, you have to be able to rush and protect the passer. That seems to be sort of the meta game in the West there. How about Jacksonville? This might get a little more interesting again.
Yeah, because I think that's a possibility. I guess it all depends on how the front office feels about Gardner Minshew. I mean, he was a 6th-round pick, and he performed for half of the time he was on the field last season. So it's going to come down to how much faith do they have in Gardner Minshew. And if I were in the front office, if I were one of the cons or anything, I may look at a quarterback battle. I may, we're going to leave Gardner there. We're going to bring in another 1st-round quarterback and have a quarterback battle, and we'll just go with the first. I mean, Gardner's costing you next to nothing. A rookie quarterback's going to cost you next to nothing. Why not? And if Justin Herbert's on the board, I see them definitely taking him at this point. But if he's not, then it comes down to a Jordan Love or a Jacob Eason, which little high for Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm right now. So Jordan Love may be their man if they're planning to pick up a quarterback.
All right, let me ask you a question, right? Say you got Justin Herbert even, or one of the other guys. Who's going to play defense? Are you going to hire 11 fans every week to just help out? Because you've lost your entire defense, which was, by the way, the only thing that made you a playoff contender 3 years ago. How are you going to justify picking a quarterback when you just got a bargain in Gardner Minshew, who is, from what you've seen so far after a year, serviceable? And he beat out Nick Foles, who you spent a bunch of money for, like a lot. So you got to see something in Gardner, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't let go of Nick Foles.
Yeah, I would hope.
And secondly, assuming the top three are gone, who really do you think will contend seriously with Gardner Minshew?
Jordan Love
in year one.
Only one, yeah. I mean, I don't see. So, right? I think Jacob Eason is a capable quarterback myself, and Jordan Love. I'm not as high on Jordan Love as the other guys, but just the way things are playing out, a lot of people are expecting Jordan Love to be a first rounder, and I think if the Jaguars are buying into that, then he's their man at this spot. But you're right though. They need a cornerback. I mean, who do they have back there? Yeah, they need D-line. And Ngakoue is trying to get out of his contract.
Can you name a defensive lineman who is currently on the Jaguars, leaving out Yannick Ngakoue?
No, Calais is gone.
Calais gone.
Who? Yeah,
they're gone. They're all gone.
No big names, that's for sure.
Remember Dante Fowler, Miles Jack? Oh.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah, Jesus, I almost forgot about Miles Jack. Yeah, man, they lost everybody.
All those guys, by the way, were top 10 picks. Like they went early. They invested in this.
Wow.
And you can't imagine if San Francisco lost their entire defense.
Yes.
From one year to another. Are they going to be looking for a replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo because he wasn't the MVP last year? Is that the priority?
I would hope not. And that's what the Jaguars defense was a couple of years ago. They were the Legion of Boom, you know. They were the Steel Curtain at that time. Yes, Jacksonville.
Remember that the game they had 9 sacks in one game and they were like the best ever? Yeah. It was Calais and Telvin Smith. It was glorious, and now no one's left.
And you had your 2 superstar cornerbacks back there that are completely gone.
They're gone.
Wow. They're gone. This team's going to give up 100 points a game.
It seems like it, right? So you have to play. You have to pick defense with the pick like this. You have to get a difference maker.
If I could talk to the Cons, I would try to talk them out of a quarterback right here.
Yes, yeah.
CJ Henderson, that's your guy right here.
Not feasible. You have to pick defense, and even if a quarterback's available, trade down, accumulate a picks. Like for you, it's important. It's more important to have a quantity of picks rather than quality, right? Your team, you're knee deep in your rebuild. When you're rebuilding, you want more picks rather than high picks, generally. So you'd rather give up a lot because you're not looking for very specific high quality pieces. You're just looking for help on your entire defense. And by the way, you could use a receiver or two or an offensive line. An offensive line is fine, but you could use a receiver or a tight end in the near future. It's just not a lot there. You don't know what's going to come off Leonard Fournette. You know, he doesn't seem to be very happy.
He doesn't. No, he wants out as well, and that's crazy to me, man. They won't have a superstar left. I mean, Gardner Minshew is going to be their biggest star left on the team.
Sixth round pick.
DJ Chark, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And that's not a good situation to be in. I think Jaguars are, to me, they're going to be in a tough spot next season. I don't see him. And I see him having a very tough time, honestly.
No, they're going to be the Bengals of course, next season.
Yeah, they might. We'll have to see. And closing out the top 10 with the Cleveland Browns. Yours truly at number 10.
You know what? Actually, the only thing I've seen in anyone's mock draft that gets close to a quarterback being picked here is actually when someone, Chad Reuter actually said that the Saints may trade up with the Browns to get a quarterback here and take Jordan Love. I don't see that happening.
What? Nah.
Yeah.
No way.
That guy, he has the most ridiculous mock draft anyway. I mean,
like Jordan Love can easily be available at 24, which is where the Saints pick.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, if anyone has the chance, go to NFL.com and look up Chad Reuter's mock draft from April 17th. It is a ridiculous mock draft.
He's sort of infamous for doing this.
Exactly.
Doing this too. I mean, it's not it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen crazy trade-ups that were completely unnecessary for a quarterback. I remember last year, you had the Daniel Jones thing. Or even worse, I don't remember this 2 years ago when the Bears traded up from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
To get
Trubisky.
To get Trubisky, and you trade up with San Francisco to just sign Jimmy Garoppolo, as if they were gonna pick Trubisky there.
Exactly. He actually had something like that.
And by the way, they gave up a first-round pick for that. They gave up the 31st overall pick for this one spot.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But he also has this. He has the Dolphins trading with New York to move up one spot to take a quarterback from a team that is not going to take a quarterback. I don't know how that makes any sense at all.
It doesn't. The only reason you would do it is because you are afraid another team trades up.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, but
nah. I don't buy it one bit.
Unless I guess you could be afraid that the Chargers are going to jump you, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't see it happening.
If the Chargers really like someone in the top 5, they might. They're one of the teams that are more likely to go up and then snatch somebody. But that's not a reason to give up like a bunch of capital, especially if 2 guys are available. You got Tua and Herbert available. You're fine with either one. You might have preference, but you're okay with either one. You don't jump one spot. That's a way to get baited, and teams have fallen into this.
Yeah, you're gonna lose your second and third, I'm sure, to do it. But then again, there are the Bears out there that take Trubisky. And now they probably want another one.
But then we got Cleveland at 10, like you mentioned. I don't think Cleveland's in the market for a quarterback at all.
No, they got all their eggs are in Baker's basket there. Yeah,
as of now, they need some more help in other places. Mostly, if you could draft a head coach, this will be the time to do it. But yes, I think O-line is going to be. I think O-line is going to be it.
Yeah, and
just a quick outlook on sort of the next sort of bunch. You get the Jets, Raiders, Niners, Buccaneers, and Broncos. I don't think any of those. Well, Tampa Bay is, but other than Tampa Bay, I don't think any of these teams are really seriously in for a quarterback. Though you never know with John Gruden, honestly. Like him and Derek Carr, you never know what's going on.
True. That is very true.
So they might be. And then you got Tampa Bay, who also might very well be in the race.
Yeah, just to have someone to learn behind Brady for the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Because you gotta do that, right?
But I think since you're putting all this money into the superstar old man, you're gonna need offensive line. You're gonna need an Andrew Thomas or a Mekhi Becton. Although it came out today that Mekhi Becton popped dirty at the combine, so he may fall down the board a little.
He might get the tonsil treatment. That's true.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I remember that.
No, this is sort of the predicament now where the NFL drug rules are harsher than most state rules. Mm-hmm. So while they're not actually doing anything illegal in that sense.
Yes, exactly.
In the NFL, it's still counted as a
failed test. Yeah.
As a failed drug test. So I don't think it's going to be the tonsil situation because that was different. It was on draft day, and it was
the video.
You got the pretty incriminating footage.
Yes.
You typically don't get that, and I think it's not going to be too much longer. This is actually going to be so negative in the NFL. And actually, I'm waiting for, and this is like a side thing, but I am actually kind of awaiting the first teams opening this up as an official treatment, as official service in their own facility. marijuana.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think
because that's really the best use for it is as a item of medicine.
That's definitely on the horizon.
It's a good painkiller. It's a good natural painkiller, and
yeah.
Players don't want to take shots for 10-15 years. They don't want to pop pills for 10-15 years. I believe this will eventually also be lifted. I think teams are starting to look at it more mildly as more and more states are also looking at it that way.
Yeah.
It'll eventually be just incorporated in the team treatment, like a lot of things are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is not going to hurt them too much.
It could actually take the place of what's the pill that makes people focus that all the college kids take?
Adderall. Ritalin.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I think it could take the place of that. Yeah.
And it's much better.
Yeah, it's much better for you, definitely.
It's much better because we've had cases of this happen in the NFL, of course, where people pop massive amounts of those. I don't know if you knew this, but this was a great example that happened in Seattle. And I totally say this because I have an agenda, but this is factual. During the Legion of Boom days, like the entire Seattle defense was diagnosed, like pseudo-diagnosed by a team physician with ADD, so they can all pop meds.
Yeah.
And that's not a great way to go around these things.
So on game day you can give your team speed.
Yeah.
And they're playing better.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
That's all that it is, right?
Yes, that's very ridiculous.
I think it's not gonna hurt Mekhi Becton. It's similar to the wonderlic in that the player base generally doesn't look at it that harshly, and I think the franchise are also opening up to that more. So shouldn't hurt his draft stock too much. He's still gonna go, I think, in the top 15. Would not be surprised if he goes as high as 5 as like the top 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very possible.
But it is promising to be a surprising draft. There have been voices saying that the media coverage this year is off, and it's always tough to credit how much of a credible source some of these quote unquote insiders are. But definitely there have been voices saying that people's mock draft coverages, they're off. I mean, we're going to see a lot of surprises in this draft as far as the insider knowledge of this source, and I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the bigger surprises there. Maybe we're really wrong about some of these things.
Yeah, very possible, man. It's gonna be really weird to see this draft, above all.
Yeah,
just
it will.
Unprecedented for sure.
The fully virtual draft, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and man, are they gonna use like an app or something, like almost like a fantasy football draft?
Yeah, I would think they will just be in a video conference, and they'll use some kind of software to keep the picks, the board, and everything. Should be interesting. I definitely want to see Roger Goodell. I want to see how he pimped up his basement. That's going to be hilarious no matter what. I'd love to see
wondering,
that.
Though, if we're using an app that may leave you open to hackers.
I guess. Though, then again, you're still incorporating technology into the whole situation, even when you're doing live drafts, right? You have all the electronic draft boards and TV coverage and everything. You still do have the handwritten notes, the draft cards, obviously, but I would think that that's still going to be a thing. They're still going to have handwritten copies of everything to make sure that no foolery is going to happen there.
Yeah, one would hope.
We'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be interesting. It's still the NFL draft. It's still exciting. A lot of new people entering the league, so the best event in a long time. Finally, something sports related to talk about, and I guess we will be back hopefully next week with the aftermath of what's happening and with the coverage of all the picks, with the grading, the evaluation, and we'll see how it goes down. But to everyone, happy draft weekend. Let us know what you think of what we talked about in the comments. What quarterback is going where? And final choice, final pick, let us know in the comments of this video. And if we don't have anything else to talk about, Smokey,
that's it.
That's it. All right. Then thank you for watching. Drop a like, subscribe to this channel, Beyond Football, and go subscribe to the Trash Talk Sports YouTube channel. Also, link on my channel page. That's Smokey's channel, where he uploads all of his sports-related stuff. Great place to be. Hopefully, we'll see you in the next one also, and we'll see you next time.
Deuces.